Hey everyone, Mango7Roll here. How we doing today? It is leatherworking time. Basically the same video as yesterday, actually, instead of goldsmithing, though it's going to be leatherworking. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the fire situation is not any better. Hopefully by the time you watch this it will be, but as of now it's kind of hard for me to really get new ideas for a video with my mindset right now, so I might as well get these out since I do need to do them, and people do still keep asking for them. So we are doing leatherworking this time, and as always, let's switch to the spreadsheet here and go over some things before we get into it. So, leatherworking. One of the harder ones when I started, simply because Gagana skin was so expensive. As of now, they're about 1,000 to 2,000 per skin, which is actually pretty reasonable. When I was starting, they were like 10,000 per skin, so yeah, that's really good and really helps out. So the first thing to note, as always, this is the most efficient, in quotes, way to get from 60 to 70 with Leves. And then at the bottom we have my recommended route. And this has changed a lot since I made this, so you may want to use the bottom part here, which is a build your own kit, work in progress sort of thing. So the way you want to do this is go to File, make a copy right here, and then you can make a copy and edit these in as you want, and you can change the number of turn-ins you do, and it'll automatically calculate the amount of XP you need, so you can kind of figure it out from there. Now that said, let's go over some leave options here. So let's just take a run to this vendor here. So the thing with leatherworking is it all depends on the current price of skins. If you have a retainer that you can send out, that is incredibly helpful. And actually, before we get into this, I mentioned it last video, but I'm also going to mention it here. 60 to 61 is literally the hardest part for any craft, basically. If you don't have ironworks or script gear, I really recommend getting one of the two. And if you don't want to do that, you need to leave grind or GC grind all the way to 61, and then get the vendor gear from there. Red scripts are actually pretty easy to get for the older gear, and those will be enough to get you through. But if you don't want to farm those, like I said, just turn in your GC turn-ins daily, turn in some leave quests, and get through to that 61. Once you hit 61, you're in the clear. You can get vendor gear, you can buy the HQ gear, whatever one you want, it'll do, and it'll work. And remember, at 62 and 63, you can get new tools as well. And all of these can be bought from the vendor in basically anywhere. I believe there's one right around here, and there's one in Ralgar's Reach. There's one in most zones that you're level appropriate to. So yeah, let's look at some of these leaves here. As always, we go for the triple turn-in one, and that's the one that's going to be half the amount of regular XP. So Gagana skin belt of striking, if I can spell that right. And I can't spell that right, so we'll just go down here. So this one is actually pretty good. It uses old world mats and Gagana leather, so I really recommend maybe turning this one in, a bunch of them in, and getting your way up to 61. But if that's too expensive for you, you can also just do the plain old Gagana leather one. Fantastic turn-in, great XP, not as good as the other one, not as efficient, but it costs about 1/3 of the price, maybe a little less than 1/3 of the price even. So that's one to really grind the 61 off of, and you're going to use a lot of Gagana leather, so you can grind them, but you don't need to HQ them, so keep that in mind. You can keep like a 20 to 30% HQ rate, and just turn in the ones you HQ and don't turn in the NQ ones, and just use them later. So that's really good to keep in mind. As we go down there, the 62, I don't think it really gets any better. What was the special one here? Gyuki leather gloves, Gyuki leather half gloves of scouting. So yeah, not exactly a good recipe here either, so you may want to skip this tier and just continue turning in your Gagana leather or your Gagana belt of striking. But once we hit 64, we have a fantastic one in tiger leather, and this is a triple turn-in, which means you're going to get triple the XP. So you end up with this amount times 6, basically. So in total, you'll get 1.5 million XP from this, and this is one you want to ride all the way to 70. Such a fantastic turn-in. Whenever you get the base mat as a triple turn-in, it's the best you can do all the way up. Especially since, as far as I know, tiger leather is actually pretty cheap since you don't really use it outside of this turn-in. So yeah, Leatherworking actually has some really fantastic leaf options. I wouldn't do any of the later ones because they're just too much. You don't want to use your gazelle skins on your leaves. And mirrored leather's pretty cheap, but these options are not the best. So by far, tiger leather all the way up to 70. And if you don't have leaves, let's look at some collectible options as always. So on my spreadsheet here, I have 3 listed. Gagana skin belt. Do I have any of those today? Good, I do. Gagana belt of maiming. One day, I will spell something right. So let's go to the casting one here, since it's basically the same thing as the other one. That's one I have listed too in the spreadsheet. It's the exact same recipe as the leaf quest, so it's a fantastic one to grind. Again, you don't want to do this until you are 61 or you have it unlocked. I think it unlocks at 61 until you get the gear, so you can HQ these. I have macros in the guide as well that give you a guideline of how to do this, but don't copy it exactly. You need to figure out for yourself with your current gear situation what'll work for you, because it'll be different for everybody. The difference of 10 CP is the difference of a macro. The difference of like 20 craftsmanship may mean you need to use 3 careful synthesis instead of 4. So really, really, really kind of use your head and learn how to craft from this point on. Fantastic collectible though. It's actually pretty cheap. Not the best because it does cost 6 leather, but you know, you're not going to get the best options for these sort of things. Let's look at the next step up here. We have, what's next? Gyuki leather earrings. I think this is a pretty good one. Usually the earrings and stuff are pretty good. So it's so-so, you know, it takes 2 ingots and a leather, but it does give pretty great XP. So if you don't have leaves, this may be a good option for you. The problem with leatherworking is you can't really grind. The mats are too expensive to grind like you can with ingots and ore and everything like that. But if you're leveling goldsmithing as well, you can grind these until the end of time basically, and then use them for your leatherworking. So that is an option as well. So the next step up, tiger skin arm guards, and these change every day, so you can't copy them exactly, but they're around the same. Some are a lot better than others, and I may not have some of the better ones today. So arm guards of casting. So not a good one here. You don't want to use kudzu cloth. You don't want to use residues of intelligence. You don't really want to use that many main items, so I would skip this one for sure. And that leaves us to Merid. I'm going to go with Merid Boots of Healing because that's what I have in my... I just can't spell today. Merid Leather Boots of Healing, because that's what I have in the guide here. And honestly, this is one of the ones that is just a terrible option in terms of materials, but it does give you about 411k XP per turn-in, with more for HQ, I believe. So maybe a really good option if you really need that extra boost. And like I said, you don't really have the best options for leatherworking, so you need to do what you need to do. So yeah, those are the 2 main options for leatherworking grinding. We can go into actual grinding options, but like I said, there really just isn't any. You can do Gagana skin, you can do the Gyuki leather, you can do tiger leather, but they're all so expensive that it's really not worth it, especially once you start getting into things that take persimmon tannin. That's just not an option for people that don't really have the botany and the alchemy as well to make yourself, otherwise it'll be way too expensive. Another thing I'm going to mention that it's not really a good idea to do now because the prices are so low, but if you're watching this video maybe in a month or 2 when everybody's through the main story quest and they have already sold all of their NPC items or the quest rewards, you may want to fill out your log like I started doing here. Make one of everything, like I've done here basically. I started to fall off once we got to Gyuki because I ran out of leather, but this is a ton of XP through the bonus XP, but also you'll be able to make your gil back, maybe depending on when you're selling throughout the expansion. Like I did this at the end of the last expansion, and I probably got 10 times my gil back while I was filling out my crafting log. So later in the expansion, these should all be worth like 100 to 150k each. As of now, they're worth like 5 to 10k. So if you have a ton of space, you may want to craft them all now and just throw them in your retainer until they're worth something, because they will be worth something someday. So yeah, those are the main options for your leatherworking, and I think it's one of the better ones right now with how easy the the mats are, especially if you have retainers and especially if you have a little guild to push you through it. So yeah, those were the main 3 options to really grind your way through. I'm just going to go through some bullet points really quick just in case you guys missed it. But first off, you want to go from 60 to 61 as easy as you can with GC turn-ins and some leaves. Get that gear going if you don't have ironworks, and then your life will get so much easier. From there, you really want to just do something like Gagana skin or Gagana leather turn-in, or filling out your crafting log, or Gagana skin belt of striking, one of the 3. So from 64 plus, once you hit that, you want to do tiger leather all the way up to 70 with your leaves. I wouldn't use them anywhere but there. You want to fill out your crafting log if you feel like doing that to make some gil later. You can also do some collectibles, something like Gyuki leather earrings, or maybe Merid leather belts, or Merid leather boots of healing. These words are so long. So yeah, that's what I would do for leatherworking. Keep in mind, you don't need to spam rush it as fast as you can, especially if you don't have the gil. Like, I have the luxury of doing whatever I want, and not everybody does. So take your time. If you want to rush crafting, it's going to cost you gil. So the best way to do it is just to do a bit of everything, get a bit of XP everywhere, do your class quests, do your GC turn-ins, all that sort of thing. Wait for good days so you have good turn-ins for your collectibles. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. If this video helped you out in any way, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, that sort of thing. If it didn't, dislike it and tell me why. I really like the feedback. So thank you so much. Have a great day. See you guys next time. Tomorrow's Weaver, by the way.